Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Jessie Conaway. Today's topic is homework, more specifically, whether or not homework should be given out. We're going to have to dive deep into the effects of homework to truly understand it. I'd like to start this off by saying that there's been thousands of studies done on this topic, but not a single one has shown any correlation whatsoever with grades and test scores. That being said, there has been studies that have found that the less homework students were given, the more they were engaged and excited to learn. An average student does about 10 hours of homework a week. That's an average of 2 hours of homework every single school night, according to Oxford. A study done by Stanford University found that 56% of students consider homework a primary stressor. And what do students tend to do when they stress? They cheat. 60 to 70% of high school students admit to cheating on homework. Another 90% admit to copying off of someone else's work. That being said, it is very unclear whether or not students educationally benefit from it. You may be thinking, if there's a chance that we don't benefit from it, then what's the point of having it? That's where teachers come in.
My name is Tim Hebert, and I teach 10th, 11th, and 12th grade math.
Amy Calhoun, I teach German levels 1 through 4.
What is your opinion on homework?
For mathematics, it's an important part of what we do.
I think especially for a foreign language, it doesn't make sense to do homework outside of class because there are so many ways that students can go around the system and use Google Translate or look off other people's work. And I don't want to measure how good they are at looking things up. I want to measure what they're capable of doing and how they can communicate. I think definitely in other classes, there's probably an argument for some amounts of homework, but even when I taught an English class at another school, I tried to give class time to work on things, and just if you couldn't finish it in the class time, then you had it as homework. Students are busy and there's a lot of stuff going on, and the more that we can be there to support them, I think is the better option.
How important do you think homework is to students' education?
With math, since it's kind of a building subject, it builds on itself over the course of our study. It's a subject that takes time to kind of ponder and think through. Homework gives students an opportunity to do that at their own pace. When you're at home, you can dive in and absorb the information a little bit more.
I mean, I definitely think that it's good to be practicing things outside of school, but if it's just busy work to have them do something and to hold them accountable to something, I don't know that that's always meaningful, but I definitely encourage my students to practice the skills they're learning in class, but I don't think we should give homework just for the sake of homework.
How often do you think it affects students outside of school?
And that will be dependent on each student. It could affect one student very little, where they have maybe 10 or 15 minutes to do an assignment. It could take another student 45 minutes to do the same assignment.
For a lot of students, homework takes up a huge amount of time. And a lot of students, it seems like, have to work jobs. It's not like a choose to do so, but like they have to pay for insurance or phones or car or whatever. And so trying to balance what they are responsible for at school, which is also their job, and like an actual job or helping take care of siblings or their households. I think that teachers that give homework need to consider like helping teach those time management skills too, because it's such a burden for some students that don't have that organization in place already.
With the teachers' opinions in mind, I felt as though there was more to uncover. I needed more information, so naturally, I decided to talk to one of our counselors, Mrs. Ross. How often do students come to you stressed about homework?
I would say I have one student per day. It might be about 10 to 20% of the kinds of problems that I deal with on a regular basis.
Have you ever noticed any relationship between students' mental health?
Most definitely. Students who by nature are more anxious are definitely more anxious about homework. There are students that have other mental health issues like depression.
Do you have any tips for students who may be struggling with this?
The best advice comes from you. The best thing would be for me to help you figure out what works best for you. One thing I think is important to do is to put it into perspective. And I think students struggle on both ends of that spectrum. There are perfectionist students who struggle because they feel like every assignment has to be perfect and they can't turn it in. And then there are other people on the other end of the spectrum who avoid homework at all costs, and that causes a lot of stress. For the person who feels like they're a perfectionist, they have to let it go sometimes. And for this person who's a procrastinator, they need to do a little planning sometimes. You have to have a goal. What's your goal? Is your goal just to pass, or is your goal to have an A? How you approach that then changes. Come every day, sit in the front of the class, turn in every assignment, and you will not fail a class at Seaman High School. I had a student in here 20 minutes ago. She was struggling to balance work and homework. I think the other thing that's really important is be your own advocate. Go talk to this teacher. Go in with a time and a day that you can come. Solve your own problem and go talk to that teacher. Think of solutions that might work. Advocate for yourself.
Do you have any advice you can give teachers to make things easier on students?
I had to have students teach me this lesson, and they taught me it about my more than 10 years into being a teacher, and it makes me sad that it took me that long to catch on. As a teacher, it's important to point out to your students that you're a real person and that you're compassionate and that you care about them. The way you do that or where you do that is not necessarily in the front of your classroom. In the front of my classroom, I was pretty business, and I would say everybody is going to have their test taken by tomorrow, but there may be one exception to that rule, but you heard everybody, because that's what I said. So I'm one person in front of the room so I can maintain order, but behind my desk, I'm a way more compassionate person. So I would want my students to know, please come and talk to me personally one-on-one. Don't tell me in the middle of class, my dog ate my homework. But if you came to me and just said, I totally forgot that I had homework to do, I just didn't even do it, but I can do it tonight, and I promise you I can have it in the morning, I'd say, okay. I think that's the thing I would want teachers to know, is don't be afraid to be a real person. I'm not expecting you to be that real person at the front of your class when you're trying to maintain order, but behind your desk, be willing to listen to life and be flexible and compassionate.
I wanted to save my most important interviews for last, which is the students, because I know that students are more affected by this. So I asked one freshman and one sophomore their feelings on homework.
I'm Tanner Mosier. I'm a freshman.
My name is Avery Samuelson, and I am a sophomore.
What is your opinion about homework?
I don't get too much homework. I do get a lot of stuff that I don't do in class and that I do at home anyways. I'm pretty confident when it comes to getting homework done, and I get it done on time, so I'm not too worried about it.
Can't say that I'm very much of a fan of it. Homework definitely takes up a lot of my evening. When you're not given a chance in class to work on it, it sometimes becomes even harder to also go and get help or ask clarifying questions if need be. So I feel like it's more just busy work than actual progress.
Does it affect anything for you outside of school?
Not normally. It affects my sleep more than anything, because if I have something outside of school, I'll just push my homework back. But other than that, I normally have time to complete it.
I would say right now it definitely does. I'm in a couple hard classes this year, so I spend majority of my evenings doing homework because I play a sport. So I don't get home until 6 or after normally, unless it's a light load or unless I can do a bunch during CLP. I do homework for most of the evening, so it really doesn't give me much free time to spend with the family or do anything else.
Do you think you benefit educationally from homework?
It depends on the homework. If it's homework that's like an assignment that we have to get done in order to learn the concept of whatever we're learning, and it actually does help us, then yes. But if it's just something that we've already done a lot and we already know how to do it, it just doesn't really help.
Sometimes I feel that certain amounts of homework or certain styles of homework are definitely helpful when it comes to practice, so you can better understand something. We'll go based off math. If you do one thing in math class, but then your homework is not the same type of thing or it's more difficult, I feel I don't really learn more because I'm more trying to figure it out on my own and trying to find any way to do it. So whether or not it's the right way or the way the teacher expects, you just kind of do what you need to do to get your answer. In some respects, yes, but sometimes definitely not.
Has homework ever affected your mental health or your self-esteem?
Yes, mentally it's affected me because sleep more than anything, because I have stayed up till past 1, past 12 doing homework, but I just try to make that time up. I do get stressed. It's not too bad right now.
I 100% think so. Sometimes you're doing homework when it's late and you're not really thinking straight, and if you just don't understand something or you feel like you're running out of time to hit that 11:59 deadline, it can add a lot of stress and it can add a lot of anxiety for when you're not able to do your homework because you're thinking about everything you still have to do, or you feel like you just can't get it done. Then you feel like you're maybe not good enough, but you're just not keeping up, and that can just discourage you from wanting to try harder things in the future.
Have you ever been burnt out or felt burnt out?
Yeah, can I say it right now? I think as high schoolers, we especially experience this. Every week, it's just a new episode of we just got to get through this week.
I've gotten close to that point, but I haven't probably gotten to there yet. There's been days where I didn't want to show up to school, but other than that, I've gotten everything done so far, and even if it's been stressful, I've got it done.
It can be so easy to burn out. I think it's important to try to make time to do other things other than anything related to USD 345. I think you really need to pull yourself away from that.
What are some benefits to homework?
For homework like honors, where you kind of have to be assigned homework for some of that stuff because you have to stay ahead of everyone, And if you want to get learning sophomore stuff at the end of the year rather than just continuing freshman, then you have to do some work on your own time.
If it's something that you can understand, I understand there needs to be a challenge, but if there's something you can understand, but see how you need to go about challenging yourself and you're not feeling like you're left in the dark, I feel like that's very good because that can help with not brain growth, but like just your positive mindset of feeling like you're accomplishing something. Because when you accomplish your homework and you feel like you know what you're doing, at least for me, it's a feeling of satisfaction and it's a feeling of, yeah, I did that and I know how to do it. And when you go into class, you're ready. Or when you're taking your test, you're feeling like you know it because you've already done it once before. But when you're given homework that's read all of this, and answer these questions, and it's not really related, or try these more challenging things, and then I'll teach you how to do it when I get to class. Stuff like that, I don't see a personal benefit in. But I feel like there's definitely growth that can come from certain types of practice in any subject.
So at the end of the day, what do we get out of this? Well, that's up to you. There's no right or wrong opinion about homework. And as I've said before, there is no physical evidence that test scores and homework have any correlation. It seems as though both sides have something to learn. Well, that's all I have for you today, Vikes. Peace out.